her. So, well, enhance this doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who's spotlighted. Okay. So we're going to go, if you don't want to, you can always be on gallery view up here if you want to just see everybody who's in participating, or we might spotlight the videos just so you'll know which artist is speaking when. So we're going to try to do that so everybody can always see it, because when you're in gallery view, sometimes some of the people get lost. So we will do a little bit of that. All right, I would now like to introduce the artists that are participating. And I'm just going to go ahead and call on some people and ask them to say a little bit about you know, the piece that they have donated to this collection, as well as a general introduction to you and to your work. And we are going to have a longer conversation with Jan, moderated by Jan, in a few minutes. So let's just start off by each of the artists giving us a chance to hear about the piece they donated to the collection and to introduce themselves. So I would like to actually start with Dennis Duffy. Can you tell us about what you donated to the collection? And do unmute yourself. Sorry, Dennis, you are muted.
Okay, there we go. We okay now? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And first of all, I'm not an artist. I don't even live in Los Altos. I am a member of the Los Altos History Museum, and I'm on the fundraising committee. And one of the things that a fundraising committee has to do, of course, is make some money, bring funds in. So what I've donated has nothing to do with Los Altos, nothing to do with Silicon Valley. I've donated 2 pieces from an artist who is actually from Sweden, who did all of her work in Africa. Wow. So it's very far away from what we have. And not being an artist, I will tell you I do collect. And for Los Altos and Los Altos Hills and in the Valley, in the last maybe 7 or 8 years, I've donated about 50 pieces of both flat and 3-dimensional art for such things as auctions, prizes to be given away at golf tournaments, things of this nature. Because I started collecting art when I went to China in 1965. This piece that you have here is by Heidi Lang, who is a German-born Swedish doctor. And she paints in the Rift Valley in Kenya, Africa. She paints primarily on this kind of a media, which some of us call batik. It's painted on paper, and then there's a cloth background, it's silk screened and then pressed together. This particular piece is called a Maasai Bride. She worked with the Maasai tribes people for about 18 years. And this is a picture that she painted of a Maasai bride with these beautiful earrings that you see hanging down. And this is typical of the type of work that she does out of Africa. I actually found this and the other accompanying piece with it in an art museum in Tokyo, Japan. She went to Tokyo and was commissioned to do the interior decoration of an African restaurant. And in there, these 2 pieces happened to be on display. I spoke to the owner manager. He talked to the artist, and about a year later, they showed up at my house. So these 2 I've had here, I donated tonight. Hopefully that we'll have some good bids on the auction and get some money for the Los Altos History Museum. These are about 24 by 38 inches. They're fairly large. They are framed. They've been framed by the Atherton Framing Company in Atherton, California here, and they're framed in a very beautiful dark, it's a black oak wood that matches the darkness of the paintings themselves. So I'm hoping that there'd be some interest in these 2 things tonight, even though they're not from Los Altos or Los Altos Hills or the Silicon Valley, pretty far away, but I just hope it'll bring some interest and some money for our auction.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you so much for donating these to our art auction and for being a part of the committee that helped bring this all together. You were certainly inspirational for trying this out, and we are very grateful that you are serving on our fundraising committee.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I also, okay, I would then like to call on Jane Lombard. Is Jane, can you unmute yourself? Excellent. And can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the piece you donated?
Oh, well, thank you so much. So yeah, I'm actually a physician, and I used to practice with Kelly Durbin, who's on this um, meeting right now. But I've been painting ever since I was a kid. I think most artists would say that they've been painting ever since they were, young. And I actually took a very long sabbatical in medical school. Then when I went to medical school and then residency, and then work and kids, blah blah blah. So when my daughter started driving, I picked up the paintbrush again and started painting. And I paint because I find it to be very therapeutic. It's a meditative sport. When you go into your studio and I still reek of oil paint. But you just get into that zone, and all your worries go away. So I encourage people to paint because I think it's good for their general health and the mental health as well. And I'm very fortunate that I can paint whatever I want. I don't paint to sell. I paint it for my own pleasure, but also to capture that moment. And the picture I chose, because this was for the History Museum, I actually have a whole series on these, because I find that our towns are all morphing into something that are, so different. And everybody knows this corner. This is the title is called Stop. It is a corner of State and Third. And this was early in the morning. I was manifested by these long shadows, and I was walking the dog. And I just love those orange bike racks, and these women are going out for their power walk in the morning, and these long shadows and this stop sign. And initially it was, I painted this about 3 years ago. Let's see, how old is the dog now? 3 or 4 years ago. So he was still a puppy. But, the stop is sort of like it says stop, but then everybody is going. You have like the bicycles and the people and everything. But now in retrospect, I think the stop actually means something else, because as we all know, on the right side is the costume bank, which is no longer. And then across is that children's toy store, which is no longer. And so I always feel, I think this, when I painted this, there was, the costume bank was still there, but there were talk about like, all this remodeling in town. And now I look at this picture and I'm thinking like, is it good that we are losing the old Los Altos and we're moving on? We don't know, and there's a lot of people who are against development, as manifested in the last election, stop the development. But on the other hand, we can't help it, just like these people and these bikes, just like life goes on. So because this is the History Museum, I'm donating one of my pictures that represent our towns the way that we remember them. I have another one of the milk pail, and it took me so long to paint that. Actually, they reopened it as a digital service.
Well, Jane, thank you so much. That's so interesting to hear that story, and thank you for the beautiful piece for donating that to the museum. It's a moment in time that you captured there. Absolutely. Is Naomi ready to go? Is she all right? Can you unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about? See if we can get you. There we go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Yes, so just like Diane said, I guess I have been painting for a really long time. I started to paint more seriously after teaching art for a long time. And my children got old enough that I could build a studio. And my work is very process-based. I studied dance for many years, so mostly when I started painting, it was very figurative work and more representative, but I really like to play. And like Diane said, painting for me is extremely meditative. So this piece, I work actually quite large, and this is a very small piece. It's a monotype. In my studio, I do monotyping, I paint with wax, I do acrylics, I do oils. I sometimes never know what I'm going to do. And the great fun of it all, or sometimes not so much fun, is just how they develop on their own. So usually when I have something that I really love, I really have no idea how it got there. This, trying to remember, is I actually found, and I don't know, I can hold this up. I don't know if this will show. Probably not. So this is basically what it is it's, so when you do monotype, one of the things that monotype is mono, which means one print, but it really isn't always one print. So this was, when you do a print, then afterwards you can do a couple of other prints, and they're called ghost prints. So this one was a ghost print, and I guess it really doesn't show. I didn't think it would, but this is, so you can tell it's very ghost-like. And then another piece of that, and this is actually the plate itself. So you can see it's quite small, one superimposed on top of the other. And it's always great fun to see what happens. I used to work in more toxic inks, and now I've discovered an ink that's a soy base and totally environmentally okay. My big thing is the environment. I'm a one-trick pony, and I don't paint to sell my work, but I do paint to sell my work because I give all the funds that I make to Earth Justice at this point, because I can't see beyond that. It's just too important to me. And you know how long I've been painting. As I said, I grew up in a family that my mother was a sculptor. I grew up in New York. I was always surrounded by art, but I actually was not that interested in painting. I wanted to be a dancer. And then when I got married, my neighbor happened to have an easel and some oil paints, and he just gave them to me. And it's quite amazing to see what I started off with, pretty awful. But I've always, and I think teaching children just really taught me to play. I mean, I learned a lot I taught for many years, and I learned a lot from working with them because their work was childlike, you know, as I think Picasso always talked about that. And I find now, you know, since COVID has started, I feel somewhat guilty because I've been spending a lot of time in my studio between writing letters for Georgia right now and every other place. I've been in my studio and doing some pretty big stuff. I don't know where I'm going to put them, and I don't know what I'm doing, because who knows if we'll ever even have anybody come to our home or do anything. But I can't live without painting. I get very sad if I don't paint.
Well, we are
So
great.
that's it. But thank you. And thank you for this. This was quite special.
Oh, well, thank you for donating to the museum. When I understand, you know, you're definitely wanting your art to support causes you believe in, and we appreciate that the museum is on that list, very much so. So thank you. And that and I can see the dancer in that piece. I feel like it's got a lot of movement to it, and yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. All right, I'm going to actually, I think we should, we have also represented some people from Los Altos Hills with us here. So I would like to see if Nikki Andrews would be willing to tell us a little bit about herself and the piece that she donated. In full disclosure, Nikki is on our board, so she pretty much had to.
See, I bribed them. That's why. No, I'm teasing. I'm Nikki Andrews, and I grew up in the Bay Area all my life. I've primarily lived in Mountain View and then Los Altos, and now I'm in Los Altos Hills. And I wanted to either be a marine biologist, but I'm horrible at science, math, excuse me, got in the way with science, or a fashion designer or an artist. And what really developed over the years is I really got into painting and different types of media. I went to San Jose State and got my Bachelor's of Fine Arts there. And so I've been involved in the arts ever since my freshman year in college. I worked at the San Jose Institute of Contemporary Art. I was a gallery teacher at the San Jose Museum of Art, where I developed lesson plans for the exhibits that would come through. And then I went into tech. So I had a big gap, about 12 years, but all the time during my time at Apple, when I had the time before kids, actually, I was also a curator for DiPietro Todd in Palo Alto Salon, and also creating my own work. And when I was in school, I loved painting very much, but I was also very interested in electrical engineering and art. So that's how I got hired into tech. My emphasis was in digital media. And I want to be the next Bill Viola. Well, I'm still tinkering with electrical engineering and art and installation art, but the more accessible medium for me right now is painting. And recently, I quit tech about, oh my God, it's almost, how old is my daughter? 7, so almost 8 years ago. And I had a little hiatus, and then I started getting involved at the Cantor and the Anderson museums. And that was kind of like my gateway into getting back into art and just getting back and be more creative and painting again. So I show my work. We have a second home in Montana where I am now. Hopefully I can get back into California on Sunday. We'll see. And but we'll see what happens. But I've been doing a lot of open calls for artists recently. And so I'm showing in Vancouver, here in Livingston, Montana, a lot of different galleries in California as well. So it's a big passion of mine. And like most other of the artists here have said, it is, for me, it's almost when I finish a piece and I love it, it's like giving birth. I love it. It just feels, it feels amazing. Like I made this. This is a piece of me that's out there. And honestly, I think as an artist where I am, I'm building up more of my, how do you say, yes, esteem for, for the pieces. So I'll go move on. But I donated 2 pieces actually. This is a Skyscape 3, and I've started working on wood. So this is, I believe, 12 by 12, and it's acrylic on wood. And the reason I started using wood is because I'm doing a lot of natural landscapes, and I'm trying to use something that's more organic. And so when I'm painting these pieces, they're textural. I build up the sky, actually, the clouds with a painting spatula. So and I'm working with acrylic paint to create more of a like, not whimsical, but more movement within the piece. And then the grass, is just a little more subdued. And then the wood comes through the grass and some portions of the sky as well. And then the other piece that I donated was Skyscape number 3. And this is also 12 by 12 on a wood panel. And I'll tell you, from being in Montana, I'm just in awe of big sky country. And where we are, we're on, now we just bought more. So we have 44 acres in Montana, which is nothing in comparison to real farmers, but it's nice escape for me. And just the landscape itself has been very awe-inspiring. And my background when I was originally painting, I was very abstract. And then I was more color theory and texture. And then I went very monochromatic. So I was trying to incorporate imagery. And then now I'm at a point where I can do more abstract realism or abstract landscapes. And it's been wonderful. I've been really enjoying it. So this series started I think I painted these in 2018 or 2019. And it's just seeing the countryside, the sky, everything opening up. It's just awe-inspiring and beautiful. And it catapulted me into a new series that I've created called Moments. And that is just little glimpses of time. And I think they're so important right now that we have these little pieces and moments of just our focal point, or, an activity, or a child holding a sparkler, or whatever it might be. It's just, the idea is that we have to capture and treasure those moments, especially when we look back at them during COVID times. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And thank you for having me in this. So I appreciate it very much.
Oh, no. And I think I think those are both really good points, that the the landscape as a chance for some serenity, but also capturing these moments in time and making sure we understand how precious each one of them is. I noticed we have actually, we have Lynn Bell that came on to this, and she is one of our, I think it's the same Lynn Bell. Lynn, do you want to say something about your pieces? Would you like to? I know you weren't in on the practice session, so if you would prefer not to, but if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to. I think you're still muted, Lynn. So, okay, we're gonna. Oh, here you go. Go ahead. Yes, Lynn.
Hi. Yeah. I'm honored to be a part of this. And my husband and I are both in this auction. I started painting in 2010. I was in the construction and design business for many years. And my husband taught me perspective, so I started painting. And as far as my husband and I are concerned, we started in Los Altos in the 1950s. We've been here a long, long time. And we both love art. We do it every day. But most importantly, most of our paintings go to charity. Whomever has an auction or where we can donate our paintings, we do. So my love is very whimsical, as you can see. I started painting because I had this little dog named Lily, and I started putting Lily in all of my paintings. And my love for Europe, and in this case, all of it in France, whether it be a boulangerie, a florist, an antique shop, whatever, just whimsical, happy. I like happy paintings. So that's what I went forward with and was more than happy to donate. And oh yes, and then the rooster. I'd love to paint animals. I have many people commission me for their dogs, their cats, their animals. And I am more than happy to just spread the joy, really.
Oh,
It's a happy habit. If you
thank
could.
you. Wow, it shows in the art. Absolutely. I love the rooster, and we've had
Yeah, I have a duck. I have these other things. You know, I have more and more and more. So whomever wants me to donate, I'm more than happy to donate.
Thank you. And is that Rick there behind you?
That is my husband, yes, and here is his. And this is from vestiges of our travel in Vietnam, Cambodia, part of Asia, and Bora Bora in French Polynesia. And Rick studied architecture at Stanford. So he went into more of an architectural approach to art. And he is still going all these years later. And again, he too is more than happy to share, give away to charity or whatever, and enjoy our pleasure.
Thank you. Thank
Both
you.
love it.
So we are one of the, you were, I think, actually the first person to donate to this auction. So thank you so much for
You are most welcome.
so
Hope it works out well.
yeah, and I also think it's interesting that that same comparison that Nikki was just making between the landscape and the intimate moments, you too, as a pair of artists, do that same sort of very broad perspective of the landscape and then the very intimate moments. So
Right.
Yeah.
No, my husband very much into the architectural. He's now painting things that we saw in Israel, and I am painting things that I saw in Spain. That's the joy of travel and remembering what you saw.
yeah, it's a great way to remember. All right, well, thank you, thank you. I also want to, we also have a Hills, Karen Drucker, I think you are, I don't know if you're on the Hills Commission. Karen Drucker, tell us a little bit about herself and the piece that she donated. Thank you, Lynn and Rick. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm ready. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. So I started painting 20 years ago, after I retired from my catering and event planning business, my sister and I went around the world for 3.5 months to all the places we'd never been. We had a wonderful time and I came back and I decided, what am I going to do now that I've retired? So I decided to start painting. I had been involved in culinary art and doing flower arranging and lots of things for parties, theme party decorations and all kinds of things for a lot of years. So I started painting and I became the workshop coordinator for the Santa Clara Valley Watercolor Society. So by being the head of that committee, arranging all the watercolor workshops, I got my training free with the best water media artist in the country. And at that same time, well, not too long after that, I was the curator for Los Altos Hills Town Hall, and also the environmental volunteers headquarters out in the Baylands. When they started building the Eco Center out in Baylands, I said, hey, could we possibly have a wall that could be an art wall? There are not enough venues for artists. And then I founded, at a gentleman's request, the Art and Public Places community, the Art and Public Places Committee for Los Altos Hills. So the blue was very familiar to me because I'm the one who founded the committee for art in Los Altos Hills. So this is my poetry in motion. I had a very challenging year. The end of September, I had a flood at my house that pretty much destroyed my house and destroyed there was a pipe that broke in my kitchen and it flooded the kitchen and destroyed the entire kitchen, down the hall, the dining room, everywhere. And my studio is directly below the studio. So all the art that was in my studio, all my art supplies, a lot of things were destroyed. So that was a very challenging time, and I was the Duchess of Dust. And then there were delays from COVID. So like 3 months of delays in putting my house back together. So I got busy. The way that I deal with that kind of Duchess of Dust and delays was to do a lot of art projects. So I had dug up for 2.5 months rocks in my yard and started a community rock painting, a Corona themed rock painting exercise for the neighbors. I dug up about 20 rocks every day and put them out on my path after I washed them, primed them, and painted a light coat of paint on them. And they appeared all over town and all over, not just Los Altos Hills, but everywhere. Then I did an online limerick challenge. That was a different kind of art. And then after that, I was the person who put all the signs up in downtown Los Altos on the vacant storefronts. So it said, write one word to describe your pandemic experience. And those were up for 3 months. But then I think during the election, frustration got very, very bad. And so they started to get quite obscene. So a woman called me and asked me if I could take them down because they were just getting a little bit too obscene with people's frustration. So my way also, well, that was part of my way of staying very busy, but painting was also a way that I kept myself sane and very occupied during the pandemic. I went larger and more abstract than ever before. And this piece has a companion piece that I sold, and it's in an apartment in a condo in New York City now. I liked all the motion and the freedom of this. I liked all the happy colors that were in. The one that went to New York had a little bit more red in it than this one. But so that was I had lots of time to go bigger and bigger and bigger. So basically all my art activities kept me occupied, kept me happy, kept me busy, kept me productive. And I just had a very productive and good time during the pandemic so far.
And I mean, the museum is amazingly lucky to be, your piece is, I think, the largest one in the auction. I'm quite certain, and it's striking. So I'm glad the extra time gave you the chance to experiment with a bigger canvas, and you filled it beautifully. So
I ended up doing 16 really big ones, like 4 feet by 4 feet or bigger. So that was pretty good for that time in the winter when we were struggling with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
About
Thank
that.
you for being a part of this. And
Pleasure.
cool. Great. Thank you. Let me see if we can get Carol Bauer. Can you unmute yourself? Carol, you want to tell us a little bit about your work? Where's Carol? Carol Bauer, I don't hear you or see you yet. There you go. Carol, we were using your video before. I think we have we lost Carol? Can you hear us okay? Okay, let's see, I'll chat with Carol, but Agnes, you are the cover of our work. Can we hear from Agnes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry I wasn't able to connect via Zoom, but my painting is really a statement about it's solitude and it's solace, and it reflects kind of the state of where we are right now with the COVID and everything else. And the background for this story is that I'm a plein air painter. I've been a painter on and off for years, and my favorite painting spot is at the Baylands, and that particular painting was done at Bixby Park. On one side there's a dump, or there was a dump, an active dump. The other side was just beautiful, beautiful marshland. And I was painting I generally, when I go out and paint, I paint all day, and I start several paintings and I go back and forth. And with Solace, what happened was I was beginning to just really enjoy the play of color on the mud flats. And usually people think, mud flats aren't that exciting, but it was just the way the light was just glistening on them really attracted me. So I was trying to encapsulate or identify with the slow water movement, and then the rapid movement as it encompasses the mud and the pickleweed, and so it's a painting about fragility of life, I think, because the mud is really important when the water recedes. You get all the bird life. All the birds come out and they eat the worms and the clams and the shrimp and stuff like that. And then when the water comes in, it just completely covers the mud, and it becomes part of the rhythm or the ebb and flow of tides. And the painting was it's one of my favorite paintings. And when I was offered the opportunity to participate in the auction, I thought that would be just a perfect painting to reflect the times that we're in right now.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you so much. Yes, Agnes, it does really capture so much, and that explanation is beautiful. Thank you very much. And obviously we did find it the right painting for this moment when Diane chose it as the catalog cover. So thank you. Okay, Carol, I see your video. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we've got Nan Geschke and Karen Smith. We'd like to say a little bit about the pieces they donated. So, Carol?
Okay. My piece is called Lagoon Light. I don't know if it's visible yet, or...
I'm sure it's coming. There we go.
There it is. That looks familiar. Yes, so this is Schwann Lagoon in Santa Cruz. So it's a beautiful pond. The water ebbs and flows with the tide. Just beyond, this is behind the lagoon, so the ocean is on the other side of the painting. And it's really a beautiful site. It's actually near Simpkins Swim Center. And there's a beautiful hiking trail behind the swim center, and has a beautiful trail that leads up to this spot. In fact, it's in a photo quite often showing the Schwann Lagoon and Park. It's quite lovely, especially in the morning light and in the afternoon light. And this is afternoon light, and everything just lights up. I tend to emphasize color. There's usually more color in my pieces than actually exists. So that's my enthusiasm for color. Also, it was mostly painted outdoors, plein air. And there's a group I paint with every Tuesday morning in Santa Cruz. So we're outdoors and we're with mask and 6 feet apart, but we still have a good time. So it's one thing I really look forward to doing, especially during these times. I've also painted this scene several times in different colors in different times of day. And sometimes there are lots of birds perched on logs out there. And it's fun just to go there and see what you'll see next time. So that's kind of the history of that spot. I've been painting about 12 years fairly seriously. I started out with oils and acrylic paints, and found I liked pastels best. When I tried pastels, it was just something that resonated with me. It's more like drawing than having a big brush that seemed awkward to me. And so since I was used to practicing, I was a member of a drawing group, and it seemed more natural to me to be using pastels than a brush. Also, you don't have to mix your colors with pastels. They're all right there. And you could just go, hey, I think I'll try this. And I find that very satisfying. So for the last 5 years or so, I've been mostly doing pastels and enjoying it quite a bit.
Wonderful.
And my early work, I guess my early interest in art was actually in grammar school, when we discovered we loved something and did paper murals with chalk, and won some little poster contests and things like that. When I got to college, I discovered I could actually have a career in graphic design. So I studied graphic design and went on to be a designer and then a marketing communications manager for different high-tech companies in Silicon Valley. And then when I retired about 12 years ago, I said, okay, like many people have said, what's next? So I went to the San Jose Museum of Art and discovered I could do docent tours, carrying big portfolios of famous paintings, and give local elementary school classrooms a look at art and a quick art history tour. And that was a lot of fun. With COVID now, we are going online with Zoom and working with the teachers as hosts. And that's quite a challenge, just making that technical shift using PowerPoint again, which I haven't used for quite a while. And also the Zoom technology can be tricky. So anyway, it's been an adventure. And so I think art goes on. We talk about COVID and things being pretty rough, but here we are, talking about art and sharing our experiences. And I also feel like it's a very meditative kind of experience, so that it calms you down, takes you into your own little world, and a place where you can relax and enjoy and take some chances. Failing on paper isn't so hard, isn't so bad. You can come back the next day and start again. So I've had a lifetime of enjoying, art and other artists, the community of artists also.
Well, thank you. Yes, absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yes, that's a good point about the community of artists. And I also think I like what you were saying about taking art classes. So I we have an interesting mix of professional and people that are sort of working on their craft.
Right.
Like to see, let's see, we've got Karen Smith and Nan Geschke. Maybe I can ask Nan to tell us a little bit about her piece. Thank you, Carol.
You're very welcome.
Let's see, Nan. Here we go.
Diane, would you mind if you don't put my painting up right away, because I'm not a trained artist at all, And I came to this by a different route. And so I want to tell you a little bit about my story. When I was in college, I had an art history class, which I just loved. And I still have the art history book in my collection. And I just love the art so much. And I have looked through that art book and realized that I have seen a lot of the art in that book. And it's been a thrill for me to be able to travel the world and see some of the wonders. That said, my husband and I are art collectors, especially French Impressionist art. And when I retired as a librarian in 1992, I decided I was going to do something for myself. And so I just started to investigate art. And I studied with one teacher who was really into everybody selling their art. And I wasn't interested in that at all. And that's why I'm saying I'm coming from a different perspective here. I was interested in just learning about artists. And she was very good at that. So I learned a lot about the life of artists, especially the famous ones. And it really thrilled me. And she also had a critique at the end of each session. So we would critique each other's work. And then she retired and I went to another studio in Palo Alto where I'm still going to. I just went yesterday for the first time in three weeks. It was wonderful. I was able to be by myself with Alan Chan, who is the artist. And he has shown me a lot of technique. And I study the Impressionist. And just to show you what I finished recently, well, this is the Picasso. But it's not a real Picasso, of course, but it's my attempt at studying great artists. And so I try to do a copy. Now I do original work occasionally. And the one piece that I donated to the museum was an original piece that I did that was taken in was a photograph of our breakfast room in the Marini home on University Avenue. And I don't know what I titled it, Diane. I just don't remember right now, but it was on a marble table, and these were tulips that were in front of our window looking out on the garden. And as I said, I just have been trying to develop a style and also technique by studying some of these French Impressionists. So that's my story.
Well, Nan, it's an absolutely beautiful piece. Thank you so much for donating it to the museum. I catch my breath every time I see it. I just love the way the tulips are sort of reaching out of the vase. So I think it has beautiful fluidity to it, and a very serene moment, like so many of the other ones that we've captured. This beautiful moment in time that it. So thank you so much for participating in the auction and for
it is framed.
It's framed, right? And it's pretty. It's a maybe 30 inches. It's a yeah, it's a larger piece. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, I want to just see if Karen Smith wants to talk. We are actually. I think we're. I don't know how much time we'll have for Jan's, but we'll do a little trivia. We'll have another toast, and then we'll see how long people want to stay beyond that. But I definitely would like to have Karen Smith tell us a little bit about her her journey. Now, is Karen still, where is she? There we go. Unmute yourself, Karen. All right, thank you, Nan.
You're welcome.
Can't hear you, Karen. Can anybody hear her? No. Oh. You hear us? We can't hear you. Diane, can you, let's see. Well, this is odd. Yeah, you are not muted.
Might want to turn the microphone up on her computer. Can you turn the speaker up, the sound up, Karen?
No, it's like her microphone's not working.
Or it sounds off.
Karen, can you hear us? Try turning up the computer volume on your computer.
But she hears us. All right. Okay, Diane, can we bring up Karen's piece just so everybody gets to see it? We'll give Karen a minute to, Karen, it might be your own microphone. Is your microphone, sometimes back in the settings, you'll have your microphone off. So this,
Oh,
I know it's a shame. This piece is
Rancho San Antonio.
from hiking up there in Rancho San Antonio. Karen, we still can't hear you, huh? Oh, sorry, we didn't get a chance to sound check everybody ahead of time. All right. Okay, well, if you figure it out, you let us know. Why don't we do the two trivia? Why don't we do a couple of more? Let's get some audience participation going here. Can we, and Karen, if you find it, just shout it out to us, okay? If you get it working, because you are unmuted on our end. So I think it must be a microphone setting on your end somewhere.
Oh, Elizabeth, sorry, we actually do have one more artist who's here today. Mommy Weber is also here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Diane, for letting me know. All right. Can we,
Hello.
Hi, hey.
Hi.
Tell us about your piece. Thank you for being here today and for donating to the Los Altos History.
Of course. I'm Mami. Actually, I grew up Tokyo until the my early 20s, and then I moved here, and then so I have a background actually product design, and then when I came here, so I don't know what should I do. And then so I, instead of design, so because the design field has some kind of, that many design field looking for some young people. So I kind of switching to pure art. And then since then, so I have a young kids. So I pick watercolor. And then so I start painting. And then so now I am teaching the watercolor at the Cupertino Recreation Center. And then so, the before pandemic, I have 2 classes. And then so always the max people, like 20 people is filled up. But after this pandemic start, and then so I reduced to 1 class. And then now even so maybe half of the people are dropped out because, suddenly we have to change everything virtual. And then especially some people are really struggle with the learning from the Zoom. So I am also as an artist, and then so I know the painting is such a meditating action, and also really calm you down. And I understand everybody feels so stuck and then so struggle, and then so the life changed so much. So I really kind of feels like the people's cheerleader, and then cheerleading, and then go through the art. So I kind of the pushing them, the paint is such a wonderful things to do. So, and then people are amazing. So that before they just come to the class and then paint, that kind of person paint a lot. every week I have to critique a lot of paintings because people has a passion. And then so I really kind of appreciate. So now, I am kind of helping people to that enjoy art. And then so I'm still kind of keep doing it. So about my painting, my background is Japan and the Asian art. So I paint a lot of the watercolor, usual these kind of paintings. This is a kind of small demo for the students. So I always wondering how can I use my background too, put in and then merging with my, the creativities. And then so I find out the the Japanese calligraphy ink. So which is not the only calligraphy, but also that they use the art too. So they just mixed with the water and then so paint this black and white world. And then so I am kind of painting this lily pad and then so also water flow using this the calligraphy ink and then also paint goldfish with the watercolor. So I am kind of aiming that is like a more meditation themes and then like a little more simplified design instead of details. So I hope that people enjoys this kind of art as a kind of meditation.
Thank you, Mammy. Thank you very much. Absolutely. That's a beautiful piece. I remember when it was there. So you're part of Gallery 9. I think it was.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, another one of our artists that's part of Gallery 9 is was supposed to be the moderator for tonight. And I think we will still ask her to maybe lead a little bit. But before we do that, I'd like Jan to introduce herself and tell us about the painting. So thank you, Mammy. Oops, Jan, you're muted. Go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay. I'm Dianne Meyer, and the painting that I gave to the auction was Sunflowers on a Blue Tablecloth. And my work I'm known for my mural work and for my paintings, and they're very different. But my soul is my paintings. And I'm really interested in color and pattern. And then I pick a subject for myself in order to use color. So you see striped curtains and kind of a provincial tablecloth and a patterned background. And of course I love Matisse because he loved color. So the Matisse painting of sorts in the background. And this is a pretty big painting, 30 by 36. I don't usually paint that big. And I love painting with color and pattern. My background was in graphic arts, and I went to school in New York, but as a mother, when I began to say, okay, what am I going to do with myself? I started painting and joined Gallery 9 and then became a mural artist.
Yeah, let's why don't we have a trivia question related to Jan's mural. So let's see how many people recognize. Go ahead. Shall we cue that up, Linda?
Sure.
Sorry, Linda, I accidentally muted you, Linda. I apologize.
Okay. All right. I think if Julie can pull up the picture and you can take a look at the picture, and then we're going to ask you a question about this mural that was in Los Altos for many years. So Diane, if you can, I think it's question number 3. So we want to know what business was located in the building where Jan Meyer created this mural? So here are your choices. Was the building Kentucky Fried Chicken, the US Post Office, Conn's Pharmacy, and your last choice is you don't know, but I dare you to pick a guess and you might know. So pick your guess. And then after you do it, please hit submit and we'll see. So I know we all saw that mural for years and years and thoroughly loved it. So I loved all of them, but this one in particular with the mailman coming by. I guess we should have given a choice as the US Post Office, but all right. As soon as Diane feels like most of you have voted, she'll share the results. And it's divided. Interesting. The correct answer is the building used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. And it was there for many years. And as you know, that building is now, who knows, Julie? Is that, who knows what that building is right now? Who can?
400 Main, Citrella Restaurant.
Centrella, yeah.
All right. And Citrella has definitely changed that wall. And now there are lots of windows there. But anyway, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can you imagine in downtown Los Altos, we had Kentucky Fried Chicken? I bet some of us wish it were still there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, no, I think in most of the very historic photographs from the History Museum, it's back when that was sort of a gas station or an empty field. So I don't know if we even have pictures of the KFC, but I'm glad we have pictures of Jan's art. So thank you so much for that. So we have, Jan, we have maybe about 10 minutes. And I'd love to hear what questions this conversation and these artists introducing themselves, what sort of questions did it bring up for you, Jan?
Well, it was interesting for me to listen to everyone's perspective on their art. The question that I had organized was, is Los Altos art friendly? And in what way? We have 2 galleries. We have 2 art festivals. We have the History Museum that has had participants of the art community at the museum. We have sculpture and we have the murals. So my question is, that sounds friendly. What do the other artists think?
Hi, it's Jane. And I think that it's fabulous. You know, but I've been to other towns. You know, real estate around here is super expensive. And all of us, you know, have other jobs. So I think if you were relying on your art to survive here, that's not going to happen. So I had gone to some towns where the city actually had reserved areas to gosh, I'm thinking, where is this? It's a ski resort in not Vail, and they had set aside like these buildings that belong to the city, and they weren't going to develop them. And they had made studios that were very reasonable for rent for artists. Now, of course, the artists couldn't live in the town because, you know, it's commercial. They still have to pay rent and everything. But that added a lot to the vibes in the town. And I'm really happy. I think art should be a very big part. You know, I'm a physician. I'm actually a cardiologist. So I've been using my left brain for the vast majority of my life. But I think it's really important. Art is really important because it makes us a whole person, and it makes us problem solve in ways that, you know, you wouldn't have if you didn't just go out on a limb on your creative right brain. So I think it's really important to make it part of our culture.
Yeah, so I guess you don't feel that Los Altos is so art friendly.
It's art friendly, but it's just, you know, with the economics and everything,
I agree with you.
It could go a long ways.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have a good story to tell everyone. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So the when I have a private exhibition last year, and then so I hung up one of the big painting that is 22 by 30, which is a full size of the watercolor paper. And then it was framed. And then so I hung, and then I think just before the exhibition, the one of the staff member at the Los Altos Gallery 9 called me. And then so my the images are detached from the frame. And then so when I get there, that was totally disaster. I was so panicked. And then so I framed that is a custom frame by Something Brothers, so which is bankrupt. Now it's the part of Michael's.
Aaron
So,
Brothers.
Aaron Brothers.
that is the, if you flip back side and they pinned it individually, and then I cannot help it by myself. And then so I was panicking, and then so searching yellow pages, kind of Googling, and then find out the first frame at the Los Altos downtown. And then so I called, and they said, okay, bring over. But I said, I need help right now. And then so he said, okay, just bring it. And then so I brought it. And then so they look at, and then, okay, so we can fix everything. Don't worry. You just go to the coffee shop and they get some coffee. You are so nervous. And then so I, of course, can't do it. So they said, shoot, go. And then so after I took some break, my kind of heart is kind of calmed down, and then went back, and then they fixed. And then so I explained, so I really appreciate, because of my opening reception day, it is so helpful, but and then so how much I have to own you. And then so he said, I don't need it.
Wow.
And then, this first frame is so luxurious frame store. And then so I understand so that their quality is top of the top. And then so I kind of asked a couple times, but they just push back. And then so he said, our community, we are helping each other, and especially this art field. So we have to kind of bring up, and then so brighten up. So he said, good luck. And then so even he visited my opening reception. So I was so kind of appreciate, I cried even. So I really think this community is helping each other. And then so especially art. So, so we can see around the corner. So John Mayer's artwork, we can see. And then also, like a bike stand, so we can see some art. So definitely, I really appreciate I am a part of this community.
Thank you, Mommy, because I agree. We do have actually a lot of, your story was very interesting. I had a different story with that framing gallery, but I do think we have a bit of an identity in Los Altos with the sculptures and the bike frames, and we have the art, 2 art festivals. So I think there's a bit of interest, but my question to the artists who are interested, if they're interested in selling, because it sounds like some art of the artists aren't interested in selling, is do you feel it's easy to sell art in Los Altos? And I'd like to hear from some other people.
Do you mind if I speak? It's Nikki Andrews.
Yes.
Sorry. So from my experience, since I've been practicing for over, well, it doesn't matter if I get my age away, like 20 something years. And it's the stigma, sadly, for the South Bay is very different than the North Bay. And I don't think that one of the things that I really I'm trying to advocate through all of my volunteering and different boards that I'm on at museums is to really push for the community of the South Bay. Like wonderful galleries and museums in San Jose do not get the attention as if it was an SF. So it's either San Francisco, New York, LA, and we need to really, we have so many talented and amazing artists here in the South Bay that we need, and on the peninsula, that we need to really push for ourselves. And I do think that Los Altos is a great community for it, but they are also mostly cohorts, right? Like you kind of have to join these different galleries in order to do it. We need to have a different way of, like I just saw today, which I think is amazing, in the Los Altos town newsletter, is that they have another call for artists about COVID, paint COVID, or draw, do whatever you want for your experiences in COVID to document it. I think that's an amazing thing to do. So I think that in some ways, COVID might actually be helping artists right now. I hate to say it, outside of everything else, we're in lockdown, right? The best thing to do is create. And I think that it's been amazing for me. I've been able to really go for it and just start applying for different call for artists. And I like that our community is actually trying to drive up, some more visibility for the local artists that are here, because there are a lot of artists here. Exactly. And it's sad. And it's sad that we don't have any place to show, it really is. So, I mean, that's the one thing that's lacking.
Yeah, and the selling is also, so, so a lot of my friends are like trying to recruit me to galleries, but it's like prohibitive. I mean, you're losing money just like hanging up your art. So why bother? I mean, it's like, yeah. And I'm just thinking of which town is Telluride. Telluride, the people who designed Telluride, they set aside and they said, we're never going to do, so there's an art district, and the rent is really low, and they have studios there. And, you have the creation and all the display in the same place. And if you could, whenever we open up again, if we have like, First Fridays or whatever, and then you can get people to come out, and the people who don't produce at least can appreciate it. And I think I do, somebody said, art is great, Callie said, art is great for the soul. I mean, we, civilization is just not just technology and the economy, it's everything, right? So we need to cultivate that.
And not only that, but as artists, I really feel that a piece of us is documenting the times, right? And so we are documentarians. What's what we do? Feelings. It doesn't have to be just social issues. It's everything that we feel. Everything comes together, right? It's a whole nebulous. And I really do believe that, like, some of the storefronts, like in downtown San Jose, for a long time, when there were empty storefronts, kind of what Karen Drucker was talking about when she was doing her poetry and other things, they would just set up artworks. You'd apply, and if people were artists, you could apply, and then you might be able to show your artwork in the storefront because it's empty. And I'm sad to say, but we have so many empty buildings right now due to the rent, right, in Los Altos, especially downtown Los Altos. It'd be amazing if some of these owners would be open to doing that. While I
asked them about the rent. They're still going to charge $8,000 a month, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as a donation, it's a tax write-off. Actually, do you know that it's actually cheaper for them not to rent it and let it sit, because it's a tax deduction. So if they were to allow just to sit there, but to have some kind of community effort, I think that would be amazing as well.
Well, Nikki, I'm waiting to win the lottery, and then I'm going to buy out and make it into our artist corner.
Me too. Let's do it together, okay?
I have to applaud the museum, because Gallery 9 celebrated their 50th anniversary, and we were able to utilize the museum for a month, and just before COVID. And the museum, I think, has this auction is another way that it's for the museum, of course, but it's also opening people's eyes to what's going on in the art world in Los Altos.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to share? But thank you so much for your ideas. I think the empty storefronts have always appealed to me.
Yeah. I agree. And especially since, what was it? How many years ago? It was 5 or 6 years ago when SF MoMA was closed and we had the pop-ups. I mean, that was amazing too.
Right.
I'm just thinking maybe we can have a pop-up. Does anybody know who's somebody willing to like give us space, rent it for like a week right before the holidays for a pop-up?
Awesome. Yeah.
Could the Chamber of Commerce maybe help us with that? In Los Altos?
Oh, I'm sorry, am I muted? I don't
No.
know.
No, you're good.
I was just saying, I don't know, we just heard today that we might have to close down outdoor operations of our museum under this current
Crazy.
lockdown. So
Are closed down.
now, Jan, we have one more poll question, which is also related to this idea of public art. Did anybody have any other comments about sort of the nature of public art in Los Altos? Or did you have a question about that, Jan?
I don't. I just think it's, what's our identity? And I think I'm not sure what it is, and I think it's Jane was talking about Telluride and their identity with art. And you get people like Karen Drucker really work hard to bring art into the community. And I guess it's just leadership and people who will move forward to bring art.
The museum is happy to do whatever we can to try to, highlight the fact that we do have I think, a pretty active art community here, and partially that has to do with, as some of the artists were saying, just the opportunity after retirement, the opportunity to travel. These are some of the things that inspire art, and we have that in our community, but we also have a lot of people that want to give back and want to share in our community. And art is fundamentally an act of giving. You are giving your vision, you're putting it out for other people to share it. And I think that's very Los Altos. I think there's a lot of Los Altos that is about community and is about trying to give back. So I like to try to incorporate it into our community whenever we can at the museum. But I know there's much more that could be done, and I certainly encourage you guys to I don't know, we have some inroads with the Chamber of Commerce, don't we, Julie? Dennis is raising his hand, he does too. So, okay, well, let's launch our final poll here and see if we've got, all right, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Linda, are you muted, or can we hear you?
Yes, I hope you can. And this is a recent sculpture that was placed in downtown Los Altos. And our question that goes with it is, what is the title of this sculpture, which is located at the corner of First and Main, right down by Citrella? Could we call it, or is it called Rochambeau? Is it called Conversation Piece, Rock, Paper, Scissors, or Don't Know? So take a guess, and then we can talk a little bit about it and hit submit. Obviously, to me, it's rock, paper, scissors, because as a kid and on elementary campuses where I spent a lot of my life, I would say to kids, Rochambeau and rock, paper, scissors to see what would happen. But the exact name is, actually the name of that particular sculpture is Conversation Piece. P-E-A-C-E. And if you think about it, it ties in nicely with what we have been talking about tonight in terms of peace and meditation. And certainly if we in the world could solve our problems using rock, paper, scissors, we might be a little better off. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, those were fun. Thank you, Linda and Karen, and Julie for putting those together, and Diane for launching our polls for us. So Dennis, you had your hand up earlier. Is there any other artists that would like to talk about the status of public art, or any other Jan's questions from before we sign off? We have just another minute or so, and I do want to be sure to thank everybody. So Dennis, did you have your hand up for anything in particular? You're still muted.
Yes, when you mentioned about the chamber, I'll take that issue to them about a pop-up or something else that we could try to do, maybe along with Lava, see if we can do something together to get some more participation, maybe a place for a pop-up, depending, of course, on what happens this weekend.
Right. It was definitely our intention when we first started with this art auction that we would put these out in our courtyard, and that is our hope. If this if we, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't continue with this as an ongoing fundraiser, you know, once a year or every other year, that we could do an art themed fundraiser. And we think our courtyard, easels around the courtyard, an opportunity for that to be out for maybe a weekend or something would I think give, you know, a little bit more visibility. Obviously online has its limitations, and we are so grateful for all of you for being willing to participate in this evolving COVID safe type of event. But I do think that the pop-ups are just to surprise people with art, because like that piece that Linda just showed, you know, there's humor in art and it makes people think, and any place you can serendipitously put in art is always going to bring joy to the community. So we're appreciative of that, and we're happy to use our courtyard in that way whenever we can.
And
Yeah.
Elizabeth, may I ask, I'd put it in the chat, but if anybody is interested in kind of pulling together a group for, to try to really advocate for more art pop-ups in the town, can we maybe email you or start a group together?
What a great idea. Karen?
Help me in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Maddie McBurney has started something called Los Altos Art.
And she put together the art that's at the
Good
costume
idea.
and also the mural.
And she brought that light display to the costume bank area.
And also.
Oh, that's right.
And the new mural.
Yeah.
And the new mural.
And I think that part of her feeling, and I shouldn't, I mean, but I think this is public knowledge, is that, you know, her strategy was to go to private businesses because she did feel like there wasn't necessarily the level of public support for art that one might expect in a community like Los Altos. So
Well,
I think that, yeah, I think Maddie's strategy has been, you know, hasn't been the same as what Nikki was talking about. I think she's
Right.
I think we can brainstorm and come up with different avenues, honestly. And one of the things that, like, so I'm on the committee, I was one of the previous co-chairs for the Los Altos Hills Public Art Committee. And the main pushback we get from city, the town council, is that, well, you have to prove to us, what is the point of, what's the importance of having art in a rural setting? And so we keep getting pushed back for that, right? And Karen Drucker has been such an advocate for us. She's amazing. And I thank you so much, Karen. So it's really the mindset of people like, well, oh, I hate that, or I don't want that. And I don't want to be here for 15 or for 100 years. I want, it's finding that balance. So I think as a movement, I think we could maybe do something where we can come together and really brainstorm on something that could be good for the museum as well, and for the artist community, of how can we really get ourselves out there again.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, art brings something different than what nature brings. And you guys have all very well demonstrated that with each of the pieces you have donated to this collection. Each one of them has inspiration in something natural, but finds a way to bring human emotion to it. And it is that hybridity that is just elevates, you know, all of our consciousness and our humanity. And we are incredibly honored at the museum that you have all chosen to participate in this auction. Bidding is open through Sunday evening, and it is going well. We're about at the 50% mark now, so we're hopeful for an active weekend, and we're just incredibly grateful to all of you for helping us make this inaugural art auction interesting, and for being with us here tonight. Thank you for sharing your stories. If anybody's got any cocktail left, we really appreciate the opportunity to highlight you and your work, and thank you for supporting the museum.
A toast to you too.
Yeah, here.
Thank you. All right. Jan, your time got cut a little short there, but you had, did you get everything you wanted?
I think I got some good feedback. I think it's what we need. You know, we need to put a little bit of a little pinch underneath some people. And it's not just public art, it's personal art. I mean, a lot of us are just personal artists. I mean, I'm a mural artist also, but I think people's personal art has less, you know, sculptures and murals can be, you know, supported by a group. But for individual artists, I think, I know being in Gallery 9, it's a tough haul for all of us. to try to sell.
What I liked what Nikki was saying is like the more art in general is valued, personal art, collecting art, and then the public art sort of follows from that, right? So I think if you're just supportive of private art, it you know, it becomes a natural part of people's homes. So yeah, Dennis, we need to get more collectors in town too. People need to understand the value of art. It's long,
Yes.
right?
We
Yeah.
have some, if this, whoop, am I muted or I'm okay? I think if this idea for this first time to have a small percentage of stuff not from Los Altos or the Valley is a good thing. If it works out, I believe that we should keep it that way and perhaps in the future increase the percentage a little bit of non-local art as a source of income. That can get people interested to donate more things.
Yeah.
Good to do.
Well, as long as we're getting our local people interested in art and the value of art, then, you know, that is something that's.
I think the value of art is one of the important things is you have to get across to them,
But you know,
particularly in this town.
it's the space to show it. You know, we have a gallery made up of 29 artists. We have a tiny little alley of a build, you know,
Yeah.
and for us to have, it would be wonderful to have 3 times the size, but it's unaffordable in Los Altos. So that's another thing you have to deal with. And I think it was Jane that was talking about, you know, that too bad they're, you know, but real estate's so expensive in Los Altos. So.
Well, and it's unusual for a history museum to do anything with art, but that was definitely part of the reason was like there is not an art gallery in town. There is no art museum in town, so we better do this because it's just
right.
It's so we're happy to do it, and but you know, yeah, it's a little unusual for a history museum, but we think there is a good history of art in our community, so we want to keep it going. So.
This is a great step forward tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, like I said, artists are documentarians and photographers, painters, everything. We are documenting the times. So I think there's a huge connection between a history museum and art, you know, depending on what it is. So it makes sense to me.
Thank you. Well, you're always good at finding the connections, Nikki. So
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're gonna thank you, Linda, Julie, for organizing tonight. Dianne Shen for all your great work. Jan, thank you for agreeing to be a moderator. Thank you to all of the artists. It was wonderful to get a chance to hear about your work and your inspiration. Thank you for sharing your stories with us tonight. And thank you for the bidders that came to hear about the different pieces. We had great participation tonight, and almost everybody's still with us on the call. So I'm going to go refresh my drink, but thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And perhaps we could end with Diane showing the catalog.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, Diane, if you can cue that up, and it includes everyone's artwork, if people want to stay.
And Diane, you did a beautiful job. Thank you so much,
Yes,
honestly.
very nice, yeah.
Where is it going? Yeah, that has been, is it coming? Sharing the screen. Here we go, Diane. All right. She used this wonderful technology of flip chart to do that. Thank you, Linda, for reminding me. Sorry about that. Diane, do we got it?
Where's Diane?
She's like,
there we go. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Diane. We just need a little music in the background so everybody can hum.
Mommy Weber.
You can see we had a lot of artists that weren't able to be with us here tonight participating, but there's Jan's piece.
I love the quotes that are highlighted in the catalog. Which really fits with tonight's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry's piece got actually taken up with a buy it now, so it's oh, Tahoe, we've got a couple of mountain. Poor Karen, she was disappointed. Did you see in the chat? She was happy to be part of this, and sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this one by B. Do you think this is watercolor? Is that the technique there?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, it's watercolor.
Watercolor on paper.
I love the story behind those two pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of our volunteers in the museum. She does these paper, it's really cool.
Collage. Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to ask Naomi about her mark there.
Yeah, that chop is pretty nice. I
Yeah.
wonder if she made that.
Is she gone? Naomi, are you still here? We were wondering about your chop that you do on your.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't unmute. So, all right. Well, thank you. Very nice.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Diane.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.